Hello, hello, hello. So here we are in Starmade. For those of you that don't know, this is pretty much Minecraft in space. Long story short, you build spaceships instead of giant castles and mansions and stuff. I'm making these really short videos, mostly just to show off some of the stuff that I made, and just show off really. Who knows, if I get enough requests, I might do some of the tutorials and stuff for some of the really advanced stuff that I did, but yeah. So, first thing I'm going to show you actually is super duper noobish. It was one of the first ships I actually finished completely, not in a survival playthrough, unfortunately. And then just like Minecraft, there's survival mode and there's creative mode now. And this was also made before the new rail update, so it has an outdated turret on it, but it still works and the code's all still there, so it's not broken. But basically what I made was my first salvaging ship. And as you can see, it's kind of, yeah, the theme I had in mind for it when I built it was it wanted to be like the head was supposed to look like, what do they call it? That one drill that bores like train tunnels and stuff through mountains. I forget what it's called. But the head was supposed to look kind of like that. It really sharp angles, you know. It's kind of boxy, I know, looking at it now, but you get the idea. It's supposed to be something that was designed to bore through things. And all those little sections up here, these are all salvager units, and those are power reactors, and that's a camera, so you can actually see what you're doing. Up here is for when I'm on a planet, because there are planets on this game. You can see some of them off in the distance there. They're very cleverly integrated, if you ask me. Since they can't fit an entire Minecraft world and a 1-to-1 scale planet into the game, what they did was they made dodecahedrons, I believe they're called. Either that's the 20-sided one or the 12-sided one, I forget. I think that might be the 27 one when I think about it. I don't know. Anyway, and each one of those planes on the 12-sided dice pretty much is what it is. It's a, I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's a pretty sizable amount of resources and stuff you can mine through for survival mode, as there are asteroids as well. And all these things have the necessary resources to, build these salvaging units, the cameras, the enhancers and stuff, all the weapons, missiles, all that stuff. And I just moved over to a little section not far from the starting shop, which is over there, along with the other stuff I'm going to show you in a second here. And there's some asteroids here. But yeah, pretty much I can just go in here, be like, hey, there's my door, cool. Come in here, it's all nice and yellow. You can see all my reactors and shield rechargers and stuff, some decorative stuff. I think I took them out already, but I did previously. Oh no, here they are. You have a couple storage bays for all your resources and stuff. I don't even know what that thing is right now, honestly. I don't remember. Anyway, so you can get in here, and this is the forward-facing camera, but there's also a rear-facing one. And this is the default camera that's normally right where the ship core is, so that's why you need the additional cameras. But I can also go up to the turret, which doesn't have any extra cameras on it, I don't think. Oh, nope, it does. And yeah, and this turret moves independently, and you can salvage stuff with the salvage beams. It's a little far away, but yeah, kind of reorient that, because that was the problem with the old turrets. See, there was no way to make them reorient themselves and face whichever way you decided. So let's go back down to the normal ship. And this is the camera that's at the head of the ship with all those big salvaging units. So if we go over to this asteroid here and actually select our salvaging computer, we can see we got lots of, I forget which resources these are called, but lots of little blue bits in here. Let's say we want those. So let's just zap those up real quick here. Oh, sorry. And zap that up in there. Might as well grab some of that surrounding stuff. We can use it to make some composite for other things. Grab all that. This thing just eats through asteroids. One of the first things I did before I added the turret on top, actually, was taking from the inspiration of, a boring tunnel-esque ship. I literally just plowed straight through the asteroid. And I wanted to make it so that I could literally fly through the asteroid if I wanted. And that's one of the first things I did. And just like Minecraft, you know, there are some, where is it? I think it's over there, yeah. There are glowing blocks. You can see on top of this one, there's some orangish stuff. It's lava. It doesn't like flow out or anything like Minecraft lava does. Oh, slow down. But it glows, and there's also ice crystals that glow a really interesting blue when you play with them that way. Let's go for the shop real quick. So one thing I need to know is that this long thing at the top, that's actually the shop. Everything else you see, that's stuff that I've added on right next to it that I was just playing around with. And it's kind of like a half-built station, and we'll get to what all those lines are in a second. Pretty much, though, it's a station with a runway and a couple of big-ass turrets. Pardon my language. But, yeah, I mean, I made these turrets, and they're supposed to... They're stupid huge, but they're actually designed to take out smaller craft, like fighters and stuff. And that camera that's sitting right at the top there, I just threw that there so I could, you know, use it. I can actually need to take it back off later, but anyway, these turrets work, and they use the new rail system, so they can be reoriented facing forward. And the reason I need to talk about like what this station was supposed to do initially. You can see the little runway and everything, but pretty much when I first heard about the rail update, I felt super inspired out of nowhere. There is a particular guy, I don't know his actual name, I'll put a link in the description though. I think his name's Criss. He ports in models from EVE Online, which is another really awesome space game if you like that sort of thing, like I do. Lighting's a little weird, but again, this game is an alpha, so you can't expect everything to work. And just zoom out just a little bit here. Yeah. Kind of throw in the free camera, be like dirk, dirk, dirk. Yeah, we're just floating out here. I don't know why it's so dark. I mean, there is that asteroid over there, which was previously in the way of the sun, but I actually bumped it with the fighter, and now it's not. I mean, I'm in the way, but that's not going to change everything all that much. Maybe a little bit. Alright, anyway. So I felt super inspired by this new rail update, and I wanted to make a fighter delivery system that would move fighters from the cargo bay or the hangar or whatever to the launch pad. And, well, that's what I did. And I used some of the fighters from EVE Online. That's the guy, Criss. Again, I apologize if that's not really your name. That he imported and tweaked and made playable in Starmade. So, let me zoom back in here. Oops. Okay. So, yeah, that was the initial inspiration for building this station. I added the turrets on after the fact because I was still messing with the new rails, and it actually, thanks to all these reactors, slow down, all these reactors and these shield rechargers and stuff, this thing, I don't think it can hold off I probably can. I mean, it can if the pirates are in the right spot, but if I were to spawn in a pirate wave, it probably could fend it off by itself. The problem is those turrets are very limited. And it says servers under heavy load, which is funny because I'm not running a server. Haha. Anyway, so let me get out of my ship here. Chunk. And just because this ship is huge and really... Well, it's not really huge, actually. It's pretty small compared to most people's standards, but it's rather inconvenient to fly around with. I'm just going to make a new one here with the X key. This is how all ships start out, with this simple little core. And once you're in here, you can start out in flight mode and just start flying around. This thing doesn't have any thrust, but because it's by itself, it can move around a little bit. Press C to reorient yourself with the XYZ of the sector that you're in. If you press space, you can go into build mode, and this is like my biggest, thing that I absolutely love about Starmade, because you can fly around, place all the blocks you need. If you hold control, you get advanced build options, so you can build like, if you wanted to build like a wall, so like I want to make a floor, and you wouldn't use the blocks I'm using here, and you can do that, and you can very quickly do that. I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to space back in, and I'm just going to use this to kind of fly around this rather large hangar I have here. So, ignoring all this right now, we'll get to it in a second, but this was just me messing around with the new rails, trying to figure out how the rotation works and whatnot, and ignore that. That's silly. Over here is where I really started. Oh, squeeze. Excuse me. Pardon me. Stop. controlling in Starmade is a little bit, I won't say clunky so much as it is finicky. Anyway, this is the basic idea of what I was trying to accomplish. I'm going to get out here so I can activate all this stuff. But these little ship cores here, they were supposed to represent all the different arms where the fighters would dock. You can see I have 5 fighters over there, but I started with this small model to figure everything out. And there's only 4. And as you can see, I got green lights above each of them saying that yes, there is something in that particular section. If I come over here, long story short about all these like lines and stuff, without getting too in depth, is that this is all logic based. Just like Redstone in Minecraft, everything has an on-off state, active, inactive, 1, 0, whatever you want to think about. And you know, certain things do certain things. Certain blocks do certain things. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So I have this this block here. It's just a button block, and all it does is turn itself on and turn itself off. And it goes to this AND, which has the delay and all this stuff. Does it? Oh, never mind. That's the wrong. That's the delay's back. This AND button is backwards. I'm realizing I don't need this. I can just take this and do that and that. Ta-da! Yeah, that's the same thing. Okay. Anyway, so I can press this button, and what will happen is it'll change these rails so that these things start moving up and over, and then up here, to where this rail at the top will rotate at a certain degree. Since I liked the idea back when I first had this inspiration of these particular fighters hanging vertically to save space, that's, I really wanted to have that rotation at the top. Get back over here. So if I press the button, chink, start flashing orange lights for everything that's not there. It comes up, and it twists, and it stays. And everything else just moved forward 1, and there's still an orange flashing light for the bay that doesn't have anything in it. Okay, I come over here, and I can also press it again, and it'll do it again. Now, it was a little tricky to figure this last part out over here, but this is set up in a way so that when it gets to the end here, and if there's nothing in bay number, I'll say this is bay 2, if there's nothing in bay 2, it'll automatically detect that and change that rail to send whatever comes down to bay 2. Now you can see bay 1 here is the only vacant one. And if I were to press this button here, which is my recall button, it'll take only this one at the top, not everything down there, and it'll move it down all the way to bay 1. Now, I kind of expanded on this when I went to my full-scale version of it, and it's a little bit more complicated now, but you kind of get the gist of it. And now I'm going to go over here, and this is treated as a station for my faction, the Derpy Station for the Derpy Federation. Feel free to join. No, I'm kidding. This isn't a community server. Sorry. So I'm going to enter my build block here. I don't know what I was doing over here. Alright, and it's just like in the ship, you can build everything and do all that stuff. And you can see all this complicated logic that probably wouldn't make sense to anyone else except me, since I built it. And you can also see this, and you're probably thinking, whoa, that's really insane. But it's actually not. Most of this up here is just connecting it all to prevent you from pressing the button again while everything else is in motion. So the more complicated bit is probably somewhere right around in here. And I'm sure if you were to download this, and if you're an experienced, Starmade player, you'd be able to follow along and be like, oh yeah, that goes into this, this goes into that. And I could have laid it out differently, but this was more of a proof of concept build. And yeah, so you have the same 2 buttons. This one cycles over here, and this one will return whatever's at the front all the way to the back. But I added an extra step here, and that's what this button's for, kinda. But pretty much what happens is all 5 of these fighters, they come over and they slide up, come up here and they rotate. As an extra bonus, they have these 2 heat shields here that slide together and position themselves directly behind the 2 thrusters on the sides. And yeah, the fighter can take off. I'll go ahead and just trigger it now. Chink. I do need to add some speed controllers, I think right in here. Actually, I think I can just take the one that's... This is the speed controller right here. I'm going to take this... Oh, I can. Cool. I didn't realize that that was not at that right there. Perfect. So yeah, now they'll go up a little bit faster, and oh, shoot, almost hit us. Dang it. There. So yeah, it comes up here, and you can see now it's in the launch bay, and the fighter can unlock itself and take off. I'm trying to figure out how to, like, some sort of launch system that actually propels them forward, but to my understanding, as of right now, the game does not have that particular feature, and it's one that is in high demand, so fingers crossed. But there's only two ways to do it. One is to simply add a rail and launch it at maximum rail speed. I've played with that, you know, over on the side way over there, just to see how fast, you know, max rail speed was with these fighters on it. It's actually not really that fast at all. Honestly, I found it really underwhelming. The only other option is to use a beam effect weapon in the back and add a push effect to that, so that you're shooting a beam at it with the push effect, which will push the thing forward. My problem with that was that, as I believe, the beam actually damages the ship that it'll hurt and that it'll push. Now, these things have shields, it's not really going to hurt, but, you know, if there's pirates attacking, if it wasn't right next to a shop or whatever, and I'm trying to get these things out as fast as I can, I don't want to be sending them into the fight, you know, with damaged shields. Alright, and yeah, and just like below, I had all the lights, and you kind of have this model, so, you know, launch pad, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the extra step I added was, it goes from here, and instead of just going straight down in this corner, it stays here. And I haven't built it yet, but the idea was this is supposed to be some sort of receiving bay where the fighters would return to, and they would dock. And yeah, I'm gonna show you guys a fun little thing I added. I need to get out first though. There it is. But what's supposed to happen, or what will happen, because I know it works, is when the fighter leaves, the docking bay that's I think I called them the fighter dock. Yeah, the fighter docks that's there, it it stays there until the, you know, commander or whoever's in control, they press the button up there. And I can make it so that whenever it leaves, it does go automatically back, but I just haven't gotten around to that. So we're just going ahead and getting our fighter here. Alright, select our rail docker, holding shift and just unlock real quick. A little jitter, that's fine. And we can just take off. Vroom, vroom, vroom. But yeah, let's say, you know, whatever, we killed the pirates, you need to come home, you know, shoot the things. Yeah, whatever. Oop, shoot. I forget how wide this particular fighter is sometimes. Come up. Nope, not down. Nope. There, sorry. As you can see, I'm not a very good pilot in Starmade. I don't really like the control setup as is, and I have yet to find a setting that I like. But yeah, so I'm just going to kind of cheat just a wee bit here. I'm going to activate the thing that would cycle it through from this ship here. You can see all those things move forward, and the bay comes back to the receiving bay. So I've killed my pirates, you know, I've cycled around the tower, I did my scouting, recon, whatever. I, you know, pillaged the nearby village, yes, and then come back, select my docker again, and shoot at the thing, and it kind of clicks, but look, it's a little out of sync from time to time, but the idea is the same there. There's some lights that do a countdown, and then the fighter bay automatically is brought down and forward in a second here. Yep, there it goes to the next available slot in the docking bay. I kind of got out prematurely. Oh, and this is more of a fun thing I added. Oh yeah, I am actually here, so I can turn on the gravity here and actually run up these little sections I have here to the spot where my fighter is and come back down. Or if I'm like, you know, the squad leader, I have to sprint all the way to the front here, but you get the idea. Let me get over here. because I'm outside. I'm still in the gravity. It's kind of silly to get out of these gravity things. I can just activate it, yeah, but the other thing you could do is actually jump, and you'll fall about 100-ish squares before it realizes. You know, it varies depending on how big your thing is and whatnot, but you know. Anyway, so I'm just gonna fly right up here. There's the lights I mentioned. There's a fighter up there. Excuse me. And yeah, just gonna take a closer look at the stuff I have up here. You know, I have instructions in case I do decide to, you know, port something like this over, do a tutorial if everyone wants, so that I don't forget. And there's a recommended squad thing, and I realized that there's actually a design flaw in this where you can only have the 2 bays if they were empty at once. So if you were to launch only 3 of them, you would have, you know, an empty one there, an empty one there, an empty one there, and then another empty one right there. But when everyone comes back, you'd still have 2 more fighters you'd have to cycle through in order to get to that third, or really the first, empty fighter bay to the right position. But yeah, you know, it works. It cycles through everything. Everything flashes yellow when everything's in motion. You can't press the button again. See, I'm pressing it, but nothing's happening until everything is done. And then, you know, just be like, you know, Fighter 2 coming up to launch pad. Fighter 2 locked as soon as everything stops moving. Yep, Fighter 2 locked. Fighter 2, you are clear for launch. And then they launch. And then I got, you know, the fighter over here. You know, whatever. I was trying to make it actually earlier so that it would detect whether or not there's something there, as well as whether or not there was something there with a fighter in it. But my problem I ran into that was, quite bluntly, in order to do that, I would have to make it so that each one of these arms that were holding the fighters, they would have to be able to detect if the fighter was there, which they can, but then they would have to be able to track what position they were in. Like, I haven't quite figured it out yet, but long story short, takes some brain scratching to figure that part out. But yeah, that's where the bays are, not necessarily if they're occupied. And yeah, you know, they can dock and everything, and I can also press my recall button, which will do the same thing. It'll move the fighter that's in receiving down, and the fighter that's at the launch bay, if there is one, down, and I believe, yeah, it'll automatically turn and go down into the storage. And yeah, so yeah, tell me if you like this idea that I kind of went off on a tangent with, and went a little bit too far in depth. But also, if you're interested in seeing how I made this particular setup, let me know, and I might even do a tutorial for you. I'm sure some of you can figure it out on your own, but for those of you that don't play Starmade but are thinking about it, or maybe you do already, and you know, you're just not really sure how to do the things that you want to do yet, you know, I definitely suggest pick a fun project for yourself and then do it. Do it until you learn everything you need to know about that particular aspect of the game, and then once you get to the point that you're comfortable, you'll eventually, everything will just get easier for you. Like, I was really intimidated by a lot of this logic stuff that was going on here. What is this? Oh, it was my clock. Yeah. Because I forgot how to make a clock before I made all of this, so I had to make a little dummy clock. Anyway, so yeah, just let me know what's going on. Let me know what you think. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.